There was a time when fear ruled my life, and I mean ruled. It decided what I did, who I talked to, and even how I breathed. I tried everything: therapy, meditation, books. Nothing worked. Until a single question from an old Buddhist monk shattered everything I thought I knew about fear. It was so simple, and it changed everything. In this video, I'm going to share the ancient Buddhist practice that erased my fear when nothing else could. And no, this isn't some cliche about just thinking positive. This is deeper. It's raw. And it works. Stay with me, because once you understand this, you might never look at fear the same way again. Let me take you back to where my journey began. 3 years ago, I was paralyzed by fear. Not just ordinary worry, but the kind that keeps you awake at night, that makes your heart race when your phone rings, that convinces you disaster waits around every corner. I had tried everything: therapy, meditation apps, self-help books, but nothing seemed to break through that wall of fear. It wasn't until I met an elderly Buddhist monk during a trip to Thailand that everything changed. He saw right through my carefully constructed facade of having it together. With a gentle smile, he asked me a question that stopped me in my tracks. Why do you resist what you cannot control? That simple question was the beginning of my transformation. This monk introduced me to an ancient Buddhist practice called radical acceptance. Though he used a different term in his language that roughly translates to embracing the storm, this practice isn't about positive thinking or forcing yourself to feel better. It's something far more profound. At its core, this Buddhist secret is about fundamentally changing your relationship with fear itself. Most of us spend our lives running from fear, fighting against it, or trying to suppress it. But what if that very resistance is what gives fear its power over us? The practice begins with a radical premise: that fear itself isn't the enemy. Our desperate attempts to escape it are what cause our suffering. When we resist fear, we actually amplify it. We create a secondary layer of suffering: the anxiety about being anxious, the fear of feeling fear. Let me share a simple example. Imagine you're about to give an important presentation. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your mind fills with worst-case scenarios. The typical response is to fight these sensations. I shouldn't feel this way. What's wrong with me? I need to calm down. But this struggle only intensifies your stress. The Buddhist approach is radically different. Instead of resisting, you turn towards your fear with gentle curiosity. You might say to yourself, I notice my heart racing. I feel tightness in my chest. Thoughts of failure are appearing in my mind. You observe these sensations as passing weather patterns in your consciousness, not as threats, not as problems to solve, but simply as experiences arising and passing away. This might sound too simple to be effective, but there's profound wisdom here. By ceasing to fight against fear, you stop feeding it energy. You break the cycle of resistance that turns momentary anxiety into chronic suffering. The monk taught me a simple 3-step practice that I still use daily. First, pause and recognize when fear is present. This sounds obvious, but most of us are so accustomed to immediately reacting to fear that we don't even notice it arising. Simply saying to yourself, fear is here, creates a crucial moment of mindful awareness. Second, allow the fear to be there without trying to change it. Feel the sensations in your body. Where exactly do you feel the fear? Is it a tightness in your chest? A knot in your stomach? Tingling in your limbs? Approach these sensations with genuine curiosity rather than aversion. Third, respond with kindness toward yourself and your fear. This might mean placing a hand on your heart and saying, "This is difficult, but I'm here for myself. Or it might be silently acknowledging, fear is present, and that's okay. It's just trying to protect me. When I first tried this practice, it felt counterintuitive, even wrong. Wasn't I supposed to overcome my fear, not welcome it? But something remarkable happened when I stopped fighting. The fear didn't immediately disappear, but its hold on me began to loosen. Let me share how this worked in my own life. For years, I had paralyzing social anxiety. Walking into a room full of strangers felt like marching to my execution. My typical strategy was to psych myself up beforehand. You'll be fine. Everyone will like you. But it never worked. The anxiety remained. And my failed attempts to suppress it made me feel worse about myself. When I applied the Buddhist practice, I tried something different. Before an event, I would acknowledge, I'm feeling anxious right now. My heart is racing. My thoughts are racing too. Instead of fighting these sensations, I would breathe with them. I would place a hand on my chest and say, okay to feel anxious. This is hard for me. The first few times, it didn't seem to make any difference. But gradually, something shifted. By allowing the anxiety to be present without resistance, I created space around it. The anxiety itself hadn't changed, but my relationship to it had. It was no longer an emergency, just an uncomfortable sensation that I could carry with me. This is a crucial insight. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, but to transform your relationship with it. Fear is a natural human emotion with evolutionary value. The problem isn't the fear itself, but our tendency to become identified with it, to believe, I am afraid, rather than recognizing, fear is present at this moment. This distinction might seem semantic, but it's profoundly important. When you say, I am afraid, fear becomes your identity. When you recognize fear is present, it becomes a temporary experience moving through your awareness, like clouds passing through the sky. The monk explained it beautifully. Your mind is like the vast sky. Thoughts and emotions are like weather patterns, sometimes stormy, sometimes clear. But you are the sky, not the weather. This practice requires patience. It's not a quick fix, but a gradual unwinding of habitual patterns. For me, it took nearly 3 months of daily practice before I noticed significant changes. But when those changes came, they were transformative. I remember the first time I realized the practice was working. I was driving to an important job interview when I got a flat tire. Previously, this would have triggered a cascade of panic. I'll be late. They'll think I'm irresponsible. I'll never get the job. But instead, I noticed the anxiety arising and simply allowed it to be there. I said to myself, this is a difficult moment, and I'm feeling stressed. That's natural. I felt the sensations in my body without getting caught in the narrative of disaster. And something remarkable happened. With the space created by this acceptance, my mind cleared enough to problem solve effectively. I called the interviewer, explained the situation, and rescheduled. What could have been a crisis became simply an inconvenience. Now, I want to address some misconceptions about this practice. First, acceptance doesn't mean resignation or passivity. You can accept your fear of public speaking while still taking steps to improve your skills. You can accept your anxiety about a medical test while still seeking treatment. Acceptance is about how you relate to your experience in this moment, not about what actions you take. Second, this practice isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending to be calm when you're not. Quite the opposite. It's about being honest about your experience and making room for all emotions, including the difficult ones. Third, this isn't a one-time solution, but an ongoing practice. Even after 3 years, I still experience fear. The difference is that fear no longer controls my life. It no longer makes my decisions for me. Science is now catching up to what Buddhists have known for centuries. Research in neuroscience shows that labeling emotions, "I notice anxiety is present," activates the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate the amygdala, our brain's fear center. Studies on mindfulness-based interventions demonstrate their effectiveness for anxiety disorders, with some showing results comparable to medication. Let's break down this practice into manageable steps you can try today. Start small. Don't wait for your biggest fears to practice. Begin with mild discomforts, maybe the irritation of being stuck in traffic or the disappointment of a canceled plan. Notice these feelings. Allow them to be present and respond with kindness. Create physical anchors for the practice. When you notice fear arising, try placing a hand on your heart or taking 3 conscious breaths. These physical actions can interrupt the automatic pilot of resistance. Use simple phrases that resonate with you. When fear arises, you might silently say, "This too is happening," or "I can be with this," or simply, "Fear is here." Find words that feel authentic and supportive. Practice regularly, not just in moments of crisis. Just as you wouldn't wait until you're in a marathon to start running, don't wait until you're in the grip of intense fear to begin this practice. Build your acceptance muscles during calmer moments. Be patient with yourself. There will be times when you forget to practice or when it doesn't seem to help. This is normal. Self-compassion is a crucial element of the practice itself. Let me share another personal example. For years, I had avoided flying due to intense fear. The very thought of booking a flight would trigger panic attacks. After 6 months of practicing radical acceptance, I decided to challenge this fear. The difference wasn't that I felt no fear. As I boarded the plane, my heart was racing and my palms were sweating. But instead of being consumed by these sensations, I created space for them. I notice fear is here. My body is responding to the perception of threat. That's okay. Throughout the flight, whenever turbulence hit or anxious thoughts arose, I would return to this practice. I still felt fear, but I was no longer identified with it. It was an experience I was having, not who I was. I completed that flight, and while it wasn't exactly pleasant, it was manageable. Since then, I've taken dozens of flights, and each one becomes a little easier. This Buddhist approach is powerful because it addresses the root of suffering. Most of our distress comes not from the primary experience of fear, but from our secondary reactions to it, our resistance, judgment, and attempts to control. When we remove that secondary layer, fear becomes just another emotion moving through our awareness, sometimes intense, sometimes mild, but always temporary. The practice extends beyond fear to all difficult emotions. The same principles apply to anger, sadness, shame, or disappointment. By meeting each emotion with awareness and kindness rather than resistance, we transform our entire emotional landscape. I've seen this practice work not just for me, but for many others. A friend who struggled with chronic insomnia found that accepting her nighttime anxiety rather than fighting it allowed her body to naturally relax into sleep. A colleague with performance anxiety discovered that acknowledging his nervousness before presentations actually improved his delivery. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity and accessibility. You don't need special equipment, a silent retreat, or hours of meditation. You can practice it anywhere, anytime, in a crowded subway, during a difficult conversation, or in the middle of a sleepless night. As you continue this practice, you may notice other benefits beyond fear reduction. Many people report greater self-compassion, improved relationships, as they learn to accept others' emotions as well, and a deeper sense of presence in daily life. The monk who taught me this practice had a saying, "What you resist persists. What you embrace transforms." This has certainly been true in my experience. The fears I fought against for years only grew stronger. The fears I learned to embrace gradually lost their power over me. This doesn't mean I never feel afraid. I do regularly. But fear is no longer the dominant force in my life. It no longer determines where I go, who I talk to, what challenges I take on. It's simply one voice among many, and not the one I choose to follow most of the time. If you're struggling with fear right now, I want you to know that freedom is possible, not through more control or more resistance, but through letting go of the struggle, through turning towards your experience with curiosity and kindness. Remember that this is a practice, not a perfect. There will be days when you forget, when old habits take over. Not failure. It's part of the path. Each time you notice yourself caught in resistance, each time you gently return to acceptance, you strengthen this new way of being. The most profound gift of this practice has been the discovery that I am larger than my fears. My awareness can hold all of my experiences, the pleasant, the unpleasant, and everything in between. This realization brings a deep sense of freedom that no amount of control or avoidance ever could. If this practice resonates with you, I invite you to try it for just 1 week. Notice what arises when you stop fighting against fear and instead meet it with gentle awareness. Your journey might look different from mine, but I believe this ancient wisdom holds transformative potential for anyone willing to practice it. If you found value in today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content on mindfulness and emotional well-being. Share your experiences in the comments below. I read every one and would love to hear how this practice works for you. Remember, freedom from fear isn't about eliminating it, but transforming your relationship with it. Until next time, may you meet each moment, even the fearful ones, with compassion and presence.